week and what to expect for this upcoming transit. This is a live broadcast, and please know that even if you do not make the live, everything in this video is created with the intention that the replay will have just as good of information. So don't be all sad. And I think my mic is not on, so let me try to fix it really quickly while we get set up here. It says it's on, but it doesn't sound like it. Oh, shoot. Okay, I'm gonna work on this. Ricard made it on time, hey. Let me see if this fixes it. I think that, oh, it wants to work. It wants to work, I can tell it's not though. Let me see if I can just, okay, maybe that will be better. Let me see if it's working now. No, it's just getting worse, you guys. Like that just totally messed it up. Let's see if we can fix it here. Is it ironic that we're doing Mercury retrograde and my mic's all weird? Or do I just need to buy a new one? I need to buy a new one. Okay. You normally can't hear all this background noise. What am I gonna? You guys hear the difference? Yes, it's better. Now I'm going to try not to touch it because if I bump it, it'll mess up. Oh, hold on. Let's make sure. I got to make sure it's still working because now it's not. Damn it. I thought I just had it. Okay, so I think we might be good now. Thank you so much for hanging in there while I fix this sound. And you guys watching, just holler at me if the sound goes out or something. All right, so Rikara is on time today. Hey, Jeannie. Welcome to everyone jumping on, whether you are here live or watching the replay. Today we're going to go through Mercury retrograde for all the signs and for all signs of the zodiac. And this one's kind of interesting, I think, because this one's going to be in Capricorn, right? Mercury right now is in Capricorn. And the date of the Mercury retrograde is going to be the 13th. And so that is when we're going to, it's actually technically the 12th at like 10 p.m. Pacific time, but since that's the 13th for almost everyone else, I'm just rounding it up to, sorry, the 13th, I need water. And, okay, so yeah, so we're going to talk about what this means. Now, the first thing I want you to know is do not be afraid of a little Mercury retrograde. Do not fear, do not worry, do not, think that something bad will happen. There's some bad stuff that happens in the sky, you know what I mean? And there's bad stuff that happens in life, but Mercury retrograde usually isn't going to be that like life-changing horrible thing, although I have to say, and okay, I'm going to give you guys a little tip for those of you learning astrology who want to know like what it really means when a planet goes retrograde or what it really means when it goes direct. I think it's really fun to study the when the planet Cazimi's the sun. So the Cazimi is when it makes the exact conjunction to the sun. And so when Mercury goes retrograde, we know that because of the way everything moves, that there's going to be a moment where Mercury will be in the heart of the sun, as they say. And this is a metaphor for Mercury being cleansed and purified and having a reset button. And so this is a really easy thing you can study for yourself with your own chart. If you know how to look at where the planets are in the sky, is to see what happens in your life whenever Mercury or Venus or Mars or any planet hits that cazimi, because that cazimi moment is like a reset button for that area of life. And it's not, I mean, it'll function differently based on what house in your chart it transits. So I want to give an example of the last one, because I was stung by a scorpion. The last time Mercury hit the sun, it was in Leo. This was not that long ago. This was like in September. And I think, yeah, it was in September. And it was in my 12th house. So Leo is in my 12th house, and the 12th house is like fears, psychological stuff. And I'm kind of terrified of scorpions. And so it was a moment that I just heard Chris Brennan on his podcast talk about astrology good, which means like maybe the experience isn't pleasant or enjoyable, but the way that it correlates with the astrology is so damn amazing that you just are impressed anyway. I was like, first of all, I love that phrase, and it is so true, where I'm like, no, I did not enjoy getting stung by a scorpion, but I did find it fascinating that me being a Virgo rising, Mercury is like me, right? So me being purified into the heart of the sun is like, here you go, face one of your biggest fears. Do not think that every Mercury cazimi means you're going to get stung by a scorpion. It's not like that. And there are many worse things that can happen. So it's not like I want you to feel sorry for me or anything, but it was just on my mind today as I was listening to the astrology podcast on my way here to do this. And it was just hilarious. Okay, so now that I got that out of my system, a lot of you guys are here and present. We are going to go through what this coming Mercury retrograde means for all signs, all 12 signs. And after the video is processed for a while, at some point there will probably be timestamps. And thank you all to everyone who adds timestamps on the videos and likes the videos and has subscribed recently. This channel has grown so much lately. I am blown away. I mean, it feels like it was just yesterday when I was starting to do more lives, and we hit 4K, and I was the channel was just starting to get some momentum. And a lot of you in the chat now have been here through this whole journey. So thank you all so much for just making this what it is. Okay, so that being said, I have a new video. I don't know how long this will be out. When I do these 10-minute videos, they're usually not going to be there forever. So right now, the 10-minute video I have in my offerings it's called Blocks to Blessings. And what I do in this video is I find the greatest challenge I see in your chart that jumps out at me the most. And that kind of depends on, I use the combination of astrological techniques and my intuition. So if the astrology leads me to something that just doesn't feel very activated for you, I'm going to go with what feels like it might be more current or more useful to you. And then they're $37, so I recommend getting one. The only thing is, please don't buy them for your friends. I know you guys want to help me and you want to support my business and you want to help your friends, but there is nothing more weird in the whole world than a total stranger telling you what is wrong with you who you've never met before. So if you want someone to enjoy my work, then the best thing to do is just send them to my YouTube channel, or even give them a link to my email list so they can get to know me and form that relationship. And then if they feel so drawn to book with me, they can. It really needs to be them doing it. So that's my little caveat. But the Blocks to Blessings video is able to be purchased. It's a 10-minute video, tells you your greatest challenge and how to work with it. Also, I need to grab the link for this, but I would love it if you guys could help me with something. I have been doing a bunch of market research lately, which means you'll see me doing posts where I say like, I'm thinking of doing a free guide on this. Do you want it? And I would love it if you guys just answer honestly for the things you do or don't want, because this is helping me figure out what my next offerings are going to be. And one of the things I've been doing, I have a couple of forms, like a feedback form, where you guys can tell me about your problems and how I can help solve them with astrology. And this is the one. I'm going to drop a link for this if you guys want to help me by filling this out. I'm doing this now. So this is going to be, again, a form, a market research form. It asks you questions. If you do it, all I ask is that you answer in like 3 sentences, not just like yes, no, I don't know. And then at the end, you have a chance to give me your emails so that when I do create whatever free guide or whatever I do, you'll be the first to know. So it helps you to be the first to know, the first on the list for it, but also it helps me because when I hear what you guys struggle with, that's how I can make the best stuff. That's how I can make the best content, is by understanding what your biggest problems are and how I can help you overcome them. So that link is in the chat and it's also in the description of the video. And we're going to go on now to talk about this upcoming transit of Mercury retrograde happening on December 13th. So like I said, this is technically like the 12th at 10 something p.m. Pacific time. And because it is so late that I'm just calling it the 13th, we're rounding up to the next day. And because in some places in the world, it already is the 13th. Kathy, thank you, Kathy. Yeah, you probably got both of them then. So thank you. All right. We are going to, we're going to pull the chart up now. Robin, you got bumped. What do you mean bumped? Like bumped off the live? I want to say hi to everyone here. I said hi to Rikara and Jeannie. Robin, I don't think I said hi to you yet. Janny, hello. Janny says, okay, let's pull this chat up. Jenny says, this retrograde interests me because it happens in my first house. Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see how that shows up for you. Robin says, yay. Socrates Dancing is here as well. Hello. Okay. And then Kathy, thank you for filling out 2 of those surveys. That is awesome as well. All right. And thanks to everyone who made comments about the sound and everything while we were getting all started. All right. So here's the beautiful chart. And it is on Aries rising. And so, I should get my timer out here. Because otherwise I'll spend, you know what I do if I don't, you guys, is I'll spend more time talking about the ones that are my own signs. Oh, Kathy, thanks for saying hi. I'm sure you can catch the replay later, but thanks for going out of your way to join us. Socrates Dancing was born on a Mercury retrograde. Yeah, lots of people are going to have Mercury retrograde in their chart just because of how often it happens. But yeah, that's always kind of adds an interesting layer to it. Okay, so we are ready to start the all signs part of this broadcast. We are going to go through all 12 signs of the zodiac, and you guys are going to get some time. I think we should do this. Okay. Okay, so we're starting with Aries rising. For Aries rising, we have Aries sun, moon, or rising. We have Mercury retrograde in your 10th house in Capricorn, which means this will be a time to go back and redo something or figure something out related to your career. But because Mercury rules your 6th house of day-to-day work, and it rules your 3rd house of transportation and communication, this might be one where it's really about like efficiency, or going back and redoing some kind of project that needs to be edited or worked on the copywriting or worked on the marketing, or doing something where you're revising the words or the way something is communicated. And this could have been something you worked on before that you have to go back and reassess. But it could also be like not just going back and reassessing it, but it could be like rebranding, like going back and figuring out your brand message over again to do something new in the future, probably after Mercury goes direct, that allows you to communicate in a different way. Now, if that all that stuff doesn't relate to you, it's about your public image and how, you might be refiguring out the way that you come across or the way that you communicate in public. And doing some soul searching at this time. When Mercury goes retrograde on the 13th, this doesn't feel like the day we have it figured out. It feels like the day we figure out we have a problem that we need to look into and research and kind of go back and sort of sort through either information we already have or gather new information because we think there might be a problem, but we don't necessarily know yet what that problem quite is. So it's like going back to either clean something up or redo something, edit something, or figuring out how we can approach our public image in a different way, figuring out how we can make more of an impact with our words, since Mercury is in Capricorn. And it's like, you're not going to say something with Mercury in Capricorn unless you think it really is important. You don't waste words, right? So it's like, the theme of not wasting words gets infused into what you're doing every day and it doesn't feel like something you're publishing at the moment. It feels like something you're kind of getting ready to put out there, or again, just like coming up with new ways to approach things that don't require so much communication, that don't like where wires aren't getting crossed as much. Or going back and thinking, pondering seriously about something someone is saying to you, or getting more information about things. That is kind of what I have for this, for Aries. And then Mercury's going to cazimi in Capricorn on the 22nd. So it's kind of like from now until the 22nd, we're sort of moving closer and closer and closer to the heart of the matter. And so watch on the 22nd. For what the heart of that matter might be for you, Aries. So this is what I have for Aries, and we're going to go on now to the next sign, which is going to be Taurus. You can watch this for your sun, moon, and rising. And remember, guys, Mercury retrograde isn't bad. We're just going back and redoing stuff. We're looking at something again. Okay, so now on to Taurus. Mercury retrograde in the 9th house. Now, if you're a writer or something, this can be like revising a book you've published or revising what is it you send? You send a thing to the publisher before you even write the book. It's like what's it called? A proposal, right? So redoing a proposal or something. Now, if that doesn't apply to you, it's maybe realizing there's something not perfect right now with you when it comes to the meaning of life and like faith in God and your belief system. So this might be a time where Tauruses are going, what do I really believe about this? There's something not fitting in this belief system that I'm in, or the way that I've approached my beliefs up until now. Now, let's think about Mercury really in the 5th house and the 2nd house. So what are your beliefs about money and pleasure? And are they working for you, Taurus? This might be a time where it's like the way you feel about money or the way you feel about pleasure isn't getting you to where you want to be. Or perhaps you're finding ways to deepen and have a more spiritual experience with money or with pleasure. And it could be something where it's like you're realizing there's something missing in this area, in these areas. Where it's not fully feeling fulfilled. Like if you are not fulfilled financially or passion wise. This might be a time where you're realizing that and you're like, okay, what do I need to do? And you kind of start looking for the problem. So watch out, Tauruses, for on the 22nd, seeing the heart of the matter, being able to see that heart of the matter, being able to see and identify kind of what the problem really is. And, because Mercury is in Capricorn, I think this retrograde is going to help us a lot to figure out where we're not on track for our long-term goals. And especially for you, Taurus, in terms of meaning and fulfillment. Like, is the path that I'm on going to be fulfilling me? Are the responsibilities I'm stepping up to in my, friend groups or society, is it really right for me? Are there challenges in my intimate relationships right now with Venus in the 7th, Mars in the 8th? There can be some fighting or some sacrifice or some seeing the bad side of a relationship for those in relationships. Meanwhile, Uranus continuing to kind of shock you out of any sameness that needs to be, moved around, any energy that needs to be moved like that. So I do feel like this Mercury retrograde for you, and, with the trine to Jupiter in the first, might be about kind of figuring out not just who you are, but like what you believe and how what you believe makes a difference in how you self-define and what your goals are. And it makes me feel like this would be a time where you could do well by asking yourself questions about like, where do I want to be in 10 years or 20 years? And is the path I'm on really going to get me there? And, like let's say, I'm just going to throw out an example, fill this in with what fits for you, Taurus. Let's say you want to be a millionaire, but you don't believe in hard work. That's not going to work out, right? It's not, no one ever becomes a millionaire and stays one who doesn't believe in some kind of work ethic. So take that as it resonates. Maybe you want to be a belly dancer, but you don't believe in working out. Like, of course, I'm giving the most extreme examples, but it's like, do you believe in what you want? Are you going after what you believe in? Maybe there's some realizations of what needs to change here and what really needs to be cleared out with Pluto and Capricorn related to beliefs that are no longer serving you, this new version of you. So that's what I have for Taurus. Let me know, you guys, if it resonates. I always love hearing from you. And we are going to go on now to the next sign, which is going to be Gemini. Okay, so for Geminis, let me get to your sign here. Okay, so for Gemini, of course, Mercury retrograde. I'm just not going to say that word anymore. It's going to be significant for Geminis always because you're ruled by a Gemini. So Mercury is you in the chart. So you are going back and figuring something out. And it could be going over something you already know. It might be about, because it's in your 8th house, it might be about taxes, right? It might be about taxes and money, especially, with the moon approaching that right at the same time. There might be something that needs to be looked at here with how you pay your taxes, how you save for taxes, how you're spending an inheritance, your partner's money. Now, for some Geminis, if you're in a relationship, this can just be a change related to your partner's money that affects you, that you have to kind of go back and be like, okay, maybe we can, redo this somehow. Now, Mercury rules your 4th house of home as well. So it's like, maybe you learn something about your family of origin, or you learn something about your family unit, especially related to finances that you didn't know before. Worst case scenario, you realize there's a ghost in your house or some weird psychic stuff. Like that, like the home and the 8th house being the piercing of the veil. So for those of you who psychic work and stuff is a part of your regular life, it's probably going to apply more. If you like teach sex education, or if you are a psychic or you're an accountant, that's going to be more directly related to what you do, because those are 8th house things. The 8th house is also intimacy and trust. So you may be reevaluating how much you trust a certain person with your money, especially. or how much you trust yourself with your money, or who you can trust financially. So, if you're like getting your taxes done or working with financial advisors, doing things like that, I would say this is just a time of like revising your stock portfolio. And then at about the 22nd, when Mercury and the Sun meet up, that's when you can expect to get to the heart of this matter. But for those who that doesn't apply to you, I think it's about what you need for trust in relationships and communication, and really seeing ways that if you have relationships where the communication isn't on point, maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you'll learn something about someone you trusted that maybe now you realize you shouldn't, or you reach a deeper level of understanding of someone and that causes you to reevaluate certain things. It doesn't have to be a disappointment though, but it's like, okay, we've been communicating like this. Maybe now we need to communicate differently, right? So the example I think of, and fill this in with what fits for you, is like, let's say you tell someone something really important to you and they like flip out, blow it out of proportion, have a meltdown. And then you learn like, okay, this is someone I can't trust with that kind of a thing. So now I'm going to reevaluate how I'm going to approach them when I need to say something like this, right? Where you kind of have to adjust your own communication and be more serious about it and be more like, okay, what is really going on? And I do feel like for all of us, we might be like getting really serious, Mercury and Capricorn, about what is going on, what our long-term plan is, either related to the house's Mercury rules, which for you, Gemini, is your life direction and your home life. Some of you might be like, okay, I'm not on track to buying a house like I want to be. Let me reassess that. Some of you might be like, what is it called? Refinancing your home, or like other stuff like that. I don't know that much about that stuff. So this is not advice. But it might be a time where you naturally do that. You naturally want to get your home appraised, or you naturally want to go back and look at a property you were going to buy and see if you can get financed for it. So topics of debt, home, and life direction are strong themes here. And for those who that doesn't apply, then that eighth house can also be intimacy, other people's money in any capacity, like wills, estates, inheritances, or taxes, or like interest, or stocks, risky investments, any of that stuff. Time to reassess that. And again, on the 22nd is when I would think that you will get to the heart of the matter. You may not have the solution yet, but it's like that's when the problem might be illuminated. Okay, so that's what I have for Geminis. Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let me know how that lands for you, how that sounds, if it resonates. I always love hearing from you guys. And now we're going to move on to the sign of Cancer. For Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising, Mercury is going retrograde in your 7th house of relationships. If you are already in a relationship, this may be going back through and figuring out together what your long-term goals are, and kind of reassessing it. It could be that you wanted to move to a certain place together, and now you're like, well, actually, that place, the crime rate is too high, or my job won't let us, so what are we going to do instead? It can be something like that. Now, it's possible you might be seeing some problems. Like starting the 13th, you might become more aware of what needs to change in relationships if you are coupled. Like, your partner isn't communicating with you. How do we get over this? Or, other things that require some effort to figure out and that are related to long-term goals or responsibilities. You might be reassessing the roles in the relationship. Maybe, and that can be like, I'm not just talking about like masculine and feminine roles. I mean, like, who's doing the dishes, who's taking out the garbage, who's making the money, who's taking care of the kids, whatever it is, whatever roles you currently have. There might be a moment where it's like, wait, I don't want to do this role forever. I thought we were going to change it, or, other things like that. But it can also have more to do with some other stuff. So because Mercury rules your 3rd house, it could also be your vehicle, like the family vehicle getting put into the shop or something. Or having to reassess, like, you're having another kid, so we're going to buy a new car. Now, it can also just be that third house being communication. Like maybe there's something that changes with how you communicate with your partner. For single Cancers, this might be more some experiences that help you, and that makes it sound too positive. Experiences where you get a dose of what you don't want in love and it makes you realize what you do want. Or maybe you get a dose of what you do want in a relationship or in a flirtation situation and you're like, yeah, I could do that forever. You know what I mean? So there might be some situations, especially with Venus here in Scorpio, sextiling Mercury at this time, like it's within the degree of a sextile. So it's like working on your love life and pleasure and relationship is going to be beneficial. So using this Mercury retrograde where there's maybe some awareness of things not being how they should or things that need to be changed or need to be approached differently, and just taking that on, especially when it comes to the topic of pleasure or dating or enjoying yourself. And it can go either way, right? Depending on what stage of life you're at, right? Some Cancers watching this might be like, I got to quit drinking so much. It's too much. And others might be like, I really need to get back out there and start flirting again, right? It could be totally different for everyone. But I think because Venus is in Scorpio right now, you may be like more aware of self-sabotaging sources of pleasure, like because Venus and Scorpio, one of the sort of keywords I have for this one is like love equals pain. So it's like sometimes that is just masochism or like wanting to be tied up. That's why Venus and Scorpio gets that sort of stereotype, because it's like there's a dark side to the love life. But it might be more like you become aware of how obsessive you can be, or you become aware of some kind of self-destructive habit when it comes to pleasure. And maybe it's a need to go back and fix that or redo that, or seeing that as a problem and kind of going on this journey to resolve that problem. Mercury also rules your 12th house of the subconscious mind and things you don't see about yourself. And so having it go retrograde in the 7th can bring up subconscious stuff around love. And so it's almost like you can see your subconscious stuff right now playing out in your love life or in relationships, or if you're not in a relationship, sometimes in your long-term friendships or in your values about relationships changing. So I would say pay attention to that stuff. Pay attention to what your closest people are saying to you at this time, and what it reveals to you about something that perhaps could be made better in some way, shape, or form. So that's what I have for Cancers. Let me know, you guys, in a comment if it resonated. I always love hearing from you. And we are going to go on now to the next sign, which is Leo. Okay, Leos. Mercury is retrograde for you in your 6th house of daily work, of your schedule, your routine. So for those of you who are into fitness, this might be a time where you realize there's something about your diet or your routine that isn't working for you, and you sort of realize there's a need for a change. Look out for the 22nd, if that's a thing. Look out for the 22nd to see what you find out by then, because that's the point where you may be able to get to the heart of the matter. I would expect to see Leos who are, where diet and exercise is like an active topic at the moment. I would expect to see you possibly feeling like I don't have the right diet for the job that I want, almost like seeing how this would happen when I would coach people all the time. Is I would coach them and I would ask them what they need to do to reach their goals. And almost every time, what people would tell me? I need to eat healthy. It's like the thing everyone knows they need to do to be successful, and none of us want to do it. A lot of us don't want to do it, or a lot of us, we have to be connected to what is going to help us accomplish to kind of tap into that. So there might be some of that, especially with Jupiter going through that 10th house of your public image. You might be finding this could show up in different ways though, besides diet or exercise. It could show up in how you approach your daily routine and feeling like you want to be able to do more. Therefore, Jupiter in the 10th, accomplish more, accomplish better stuff, read more books, have more clients, expand your social media, whatever it is you're working on. And that Mercury in the sixth on the 13th, or sorry, in the sixth house on the 13th, being like this little nagging of like, okay, we gotta get a new planner next year and like actually plan our days, or we gotta hire someone so we can get more done. Or if you're in a workplace situation, maybe it's reevaluating how you talk to your coworkers, or something changing about the dynamic between you and your coworkers, or the amount of workload you have. And it feels like, though, that it's about kind of going back and seeing how can we be more efficient with what we're doing every day so that we can accomplish more? How can we be more strategic and deliberate? And how can we delegate more? How can we change the way, and it doesn't always have to be delegating. It could just be like figuring out how to focus on one thing at a time, or figuring out how to have certain things be like prioritized. And maybe it's like, okay, I'm going to look at this from a year perspective or a 10-year perspective to get my priorities straight. That's another way that could show up with Mercury retrograde in the sixth house. The sixth house is also the house of being of service. So it might be a time where, I don't know, like maybe you have a sick kid, or you have someone you need to take care of during this time. And that just takes more of your time, so you're busier. When Mercury's in the sixth, you're usually busier. And having it go retrograde makes me feel like you might have to go be busier because you're going back and redoing something that you want to. And I'm going to look at it'll mess this up, but I'm going to look at this for you. Because I think that with Jupiter at 6 and Mercury at 8, I kind of want to see when after this Mercury retrograde, Jupiter and Mercury are going to connect again. Because I think that's going to be a significant time where all of us really might be feeling more prepared to launch, kind of a thing. And that's going to be around the 18th and 19th of January 2024. So going back to the day we were on here, that's what I have for you, Leos. Let me know, you guys, if that made sense. It's really a strong work transit, being, that 6th house and 10th house, that trine there. It really is. So let's go now to Virgos. All right. And Leos, yeah, make sure you tell me how that resonated and if it makes sense for you. Okay, Virgos, Mercury is retrograde on the 13th in your 5th house of pleasure, fun, children, self-employment. Those are creativity. So if you have a creative thing, like if you're an artist or something, then it's probably like going back and starting something, or going back to some kind of creative thing you worked on in the past. If you are not an artist, it can still be you embracing that creative side of yourself, like going back to an old hobby or something that brought you joy. And what might happen on the 13th, it's possible that you realize there's not enough fun in my life right now, right? Because Mercury making that trine to Jupiter, it feels like there's more of a focus right now for Virgos that life be meaningful, that you bring in faith and hope and optimism, that you bring some kind of beliefs into the scenario, that you are learning some kind of higher information. So you might go back and study something you loved before, but it doesn't feel like it's so you can be all studious and like know everything. It feels like so you can feel better, so you can feel happier, so you can feel more fulfilled, so you can feel like life is more meaningful. Especially because during this time, Venus, the planet that rules the 9th house for you, the meaning of life, it's in the 3rd house, in Scorpio, actually, where it's like maybe this retrograde might be putting you in touch with the pain that it's causing you not to do as much of what you love. So if you've been avoiding things that you enjoy or kind of holding back in certain ways, this Mercury retrograde might help you see that. It might put you in touch with where there is a problem in that 5th house. Now, for those with kids, it could be something about your parenting or something about what's happening in your kid's life at this time that they're going back and redoing something. Like, I don't know. they had to do, I don't know, it's December. Maybe they have to do like winter school over winter break, or like redo some of their homework or something. Depending on how old they are, that's going to be totally different. But the fifth house is also the house of self-employment. So for Virgos who are self-employed, it can be like going back and rebranding or trying to figure out what is wrong with whatever the issue is, right? Like why I'm thinking about myself now. Why these self-employment goals are not meeting up with the ninth house goals. So the ninth house is publishing. It can be teaching courses. It can be learning about the meaning of life. It can be astrology. It can be travel, foreign languages. So some Virgos might be like, I want to go back and learn a language I knew in the past, or I want to go back and redo something, redo my business and make it so I have a freedom lifestyle so I can travel more, or something else like that. Okay. Where you're realizing that you're missing out on some ninth house thing that you want to grow. And so now's the time to dive into that, to dive into the problem and kind of figure it out with gusto, and know that by about the 22nd of December, that's when you want to kind of see what you might be more aware of what the heart of the matter is at that time. And that might help you moving forward to kind of redo your long-term plans in a way that's more in alignment with what you want to accomplish and the far off goals and dreams that you have that are meaningful to you. Mercury also rules Gemini, which is your 10th house of career. So it can be going back and figuring out like, why do I not like this job? Or what could be different about this job that would make me happier? Why is it so boring? Why isn't it fulfilling? Or how am I approaching my job and my work life in a way that isn't helping me reach my goals? Like, what is wrong here? Am I not getting promoted? Am I in a job where there's no potential for promotion? Am I working too much? So it might also be that. And it can also be because Mercury is you and is your life direction, and we have it in Capricorn. This can be you kind of, it really does feel like embracing your destiny, but not from the point of like, and the angels singing, exactly what's happening, but from the point of like, man, what is wrong with me not living up to my destiny right now? So if you're feeling this on the 13th of December, just know that this is kind of guiding you into the problem so you can hit the reset button. And that reset button can be hit on the 22nd. Sometimes it's us hitting it, but sometimes the universe is going to hit it. So it's like, the more you can align with that energy, the way you can do that is by letting it be okay that you're focused on the problem, because that's going to help you figure out what the solution is. So that is what I have for Virgos. Let me know in a comment if that resonates. I love hearing from you guys. I always love hearing from you. And let's go on now to our next sign, which is going to be Libra. And since we're halfway through here, this might be a good time for me to let you guys know about the Blocks to Blessings video. I have it going across the screen today, but it's basically a 10-minute video of me looking at your chart. It is personal and telling you what your biggest problem is and how I think you can overcome it. So you can get one of those. They're only out for a limited time. They won't be out forever. And so now is a good time to get one of those. And moving on now to the sign of Libra. For Libras, we have Mercury retrograding your 4th house of home and family. And we have home, family, emotional foundations go in that 4th house. The 4th house is like our roots. So one way this can show up is becoming more acutely aware of what am I going to say? If your emotions aren't working for you in a way that is supportive, you may become more aware of this, especially because Mercury rules your 12th house of kind of like self-sabotage, how we, things that we don't see about ourselves. So it's almost like you going on a quest to dive deep, 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 deep within your own soul to figure out the things that you kind of know you need to realize, you kind of know you need to know. You might not know what they are, but you know you need to know them. You know there is something about your emotional foundation that needs to be dug up a little bit. You might become more aware of some kind of problem with how you deal with things emotionally, or some kind of problem with your physical home. It might just be like, you're not in the ideal house. And right now is the time where you're like, see, it's not ideal. It's not ideal because of this. And you kind of notice what's not ideal about it. And you don't necessarily know what to do, or you don't necessarily have a solution. You just become aware that like, okay, this is not going to work long term. And that can be a lot of things, right? It could be you're having another kid and you don't have enough bedrooms, or it could be that there's something weird about the heat and you didn't know about that. It could be a million other things if it's your physical home. But for a lot of Libras, this feels a little bit more like going back to family dynamics and like taking a trip down memory lane and realizing how your inner workings might not be supporting you for long-term success. Mercury also rules your ninth house of travel, education, and the meaning of life. So there might be something going on with certain travel plans that you're redoing, or you're realizing if you wanted to travel, you're realizing, oh no, I don't actually want to go to that place now that I've researched it and seen that it's not what I thought it was. Or it could be something else like that, but it could be related to any ninth house topic of the law, the meaning of life. So like if you do real estate, it will probably be real estate and realizing certain legal things about real estate. If you don't do real estate, that doesn't apply to you. But if you're planning on like selling a house, maybe the legalities of it might be coming into play, legalities that you didn't know before. And then again, family dynamics or home or private time are going to be the real keywords here. And now this could be like you're single and you're tired of being alone and you're like, this is a problem. I'm going to be alone for Christmas. This sucks, right? It could be something like that, or it could be the other way where it's like, I have so many responsibilities at home right now that I just can't. I can't even think. I can't even hear myself think, right? Some Libras, it might be like that. And for others, with Saturn in that sixth house, bringing more challenge, more responsibility to your day-to-day schedule, I wouldn't be surprised if some of you either are getting some much needed vacation during this time, or have some realization that you need more time off, or you're feeling more like you want to be home, you just want to be home for a while. Either way, I would expect you to get to the heart of whatever this matter is closer to the 22nd. And that won't be like the end of the story. That'll just be when you have the information you need. It's like the reset button on this topic, whatever. So pay attention to what changes on the 13th related to these things, because that's going to it'll help you understand whatever happens on the 22nd. Yeah, and another, keyword of like Mercury in the fourth is like the ability to contemplate and like gain more contemplation as you contemplate. So again, this can be just having a little bit more time alone to like think and journal and like think about your thoughts and like, or it could go the other way where because there's not enough of that time, you're more aware of like, okay, I need time to hear myself think. I need to carve out some privacy here. All right, so that's what I have for Libras. You guys let me know in a comment if that resonates. And moving on now to Scorpios. Okay, so for Scorpios, we have Mercury retrograde in your third house of communication. Some of you might be more aware of your problems with communication. Because Capricorn rules that third house, Scorpios, you guys, especially the risings, you guys get a reputation here for like having a certain look, but also like you're going to kill someone, but also having just not saying stuff unless it really matters, right? Only wanting to say things that are important or impactful or make a big difference. There's no desire to chit chat, have small talk, say stupid little shit, or talk about the weather, really. I mean, you can do it, but usually Scorpios don't like that. So Mercury being there, bringing attention to these topics, bringing attention to how much you speak versus how much you listen, whether you're being heard, is huge right now. Because Mercury rules your eighth house, and the eighth house can represent trust and intimacy, it might be a time where you learn some new information, where something is communicated to you, where you're communicating something to a significant other or to someone who you trust deeply. And for some, this might be a money thing because the eighth house is another money planet. So having your money planet retrograde in the third house is like kind of going back to see what's like, I don't know how to explain it. With little things related to money, like day-to-day shifting, especially if you do like day trading or something where it's like every day you make a little change, or something that's repeated, a repeated action daily, or a constantly done action that has to do with money that you're doing all the time, you might be changing how you do it. Now that could be, especially if you have like investments or things like that. I'm not giving advice on that, just that's one potential. Another potential is something changing with your car or how you get around from place to place and realizing it needs to be changed or realizing there's a problem there. But overall, it feels like, the third house is not just communicating, it's communicating what we know. And what we know is in the ninth house. So it's like, you might feel like if you're not feeling like you can communicate what you know, this might be a time where you're like, I got to figure this out. I got to figure out what is wrong with how I'm communicating. You might just feel more motivated to practice the art of nonviolent communication, or, learn more about how you can communicate in a way that gets what you want and gets you where you want to be. Also, because Mercury rules your 11th house of hopes and dreams, and it's retrograde in the third house of Capricorn, this will be a time where Scorpios especially are feeling like, what do I want long term and how do I get it? Not only what do I want long term and how do I get it, but am I with the right people? Am I aligned with the right people who I can trust to be with me on the journey, or who at least aren't messing it up? And if you are not with the right people, you're going to probably feel that at this time as well. So pay attention to what's happening here on the 13th. And especially as we get closer to the 22nd, where I would think you may get more clear on what it is that is at the heart of the matter. So moving on now to Sagittarius. For Sagittariuses, you guys have Mercury retrograde in your money house. So you might think about what is changing financially. On the 13th, you might just be more in touch with how where you are at financially at this moment does not line up with what you want long term. And you might just become more aware of this through a bunch of things, right? A bunch of things could happen. Someone could say something that gets under your skin. You could find that you have to go back and redo something for like a client work if you have your own business that's like takes away your time you could have been making money doing something else. You might go back and revise something you've already done financially. You might be going over your numbers and be like, damn, these do not add up to where I want. It feels like you're going to become aware of something wrong related to your career, your public image, and how much money you're making from the work that you do. Now, this could just be a change to how you're making your money. And it might not be, even though I said it feels like there's something wrong, it might not be that bad. It might be just part of the natural progression of like, okay, you've been doing X, Y, Z in your work and now something changes. And it could be something like hours get cut, but it actually doesn't feel like that to me. Because we have Mercury trining Jupiter, it almost feels like maybe you have to work more hours. And even though that might be a good thing, it's like Jupiter in the 6th doesn't guarantee more money. It guarantees more work. It does. It guarantees more work. So it's like you're doing more work, but are you making more money? And maybe there's a question there. Maybe there's a feeling like now I'm on salary. Now I have to work another day a week. I don't get paid anymore. Or it could also be not those things. This could be also just some kind of realization or awareness. Again, that financially long term, you're not quite on the track you would like to be on. And with Jupiter in the 6th, it's almost like the question mark here starting the 13th is going to be like, how do I make more money doing less? How do I, focus in on the things that are going to be more profitable or support me long term? How do I spend my time in a way that is going to benefit me? How do I Mercury and going through your second house is like, it can be making money from the work that you do. So this might not all be bad, but there's something about this that you want to reassess. And it might be some of you get a raise, or some of you have more money, but you don't know what to do with it, and you're figuring out how to put it somewhere, or like something like that, where it's like reevaluating and trying to go back and learn things about money that you didn't know. Maybe learning about interest rates and savings accounts and like debt, and how kind of how, like, how do I explain it? Like, I don't know enough about this to explain it, but sometimes people who have debt, instead of paying off their debt, they'll put the same money they would have put to their debt in like a certain account, like certain types of savings, and they end up making more. So it's like, maybe there's something about the experience of Sagittarius is starting the 13th that becomes figuring out how to save the money you're making, figuring out how to, like, what exactly needs to be done on a day-to-day basis to end up with the amount of money you want to have, or end up with the things you want to have, right? Because the second house is also the stuff you own. So maybe there is something where you own something and it's too expensive, and you realize you don't want to pay for that. Or, I think of like people who have really nice houses, but they don't turn on the heat because it's too expensive, because they have this huge house and it costs so much money. It's like, what are you doing with your life? I mean, it doesn't make sense to have a house you can't afford to heat, in my opinion, just my opinion. But a lot of people do that. So it's like, it may not be what's happening for you, Sagittarius. Take that with a grain of salt. But it kind of has to do with, like, can you maintain what you own? Is your current salary going to allow you to maintain your current lifestyle? Do you need to work more just to make more money? Are you working more and you have more, and now you have to figure out what to do with it? Is it one of those really positive growing pains? Stuff like that is what I see coming up. This is very much a money and work transit, with the, Mercury ruling the 10th and Jupiter trining Mercury from the 6th house. And, I didn't mention the relationship part of it. So for some of you, maybe you're getting money, or maybe, because 7th ruler in the 2nd is like a partner who invests in you. Now that could be, because it's retrograde there, this could be you meet someone who wants to invest in you, and it's like, hey, that's cool. Or it might be that, and you have more time because they're investing. And it could also be the other way, where you meet someone who doesn't want to invest in you, or you're with a partner who refuses to invest in you, and it doesn't make your life easier, and you realize this is messed up. That kind of thing. So let me know, Sagittarius, how that resonates. I love hearing from you. And let's see, what's the next sign? That's going to be Capricorn. I'm going to read this comment here. Okay, so it looks like Robin said bullseye. Jeannie, I'm going to show this one. It's going through Mars-Neptune conjunction in Capricorn, yes. Money matters are predominant. I'm in a 2nd house here. Yes. I have been in one myself. So yes, I get that. All right, so going on now to Capricorns. Let me set our timer. So for Capricorns, Mercury is going retrograde in your 1st house of you, your identity, your life direction. So you may find that this is a time where you're reevaluating your path forward, your goals ahead. I mean, Mercury in Capricorn, it's like reevaluating your long-term goals, period, right? But because Mercury rules your 6th house of daily work, and it rules your 9th house of faith and the meaning of life, it's not just reevaluating, am I getting what I want? Am I accomplishing things, which is you're going to be motivated by because you're a Capricorn. And with Saturn in the 3rd house, it's like going through a time where you may be more focused on learning things you didn't know and wanting to know the things you don't know. And with Mercury ruling the 6th house of your day-to-day schedule, this might be a time where you're thinking, how does the work that I'm doing contribute to my success or not? How does the work that I'm doing right now contribute to my life being more meaningful? Like, imagine your life in 10 years. If you stay on the track you're on, is your work life and your schedule allowing you to do the things that you want to do. It's almost like if you love meditating and you're working like 16-hour days. It's like your work might not really allow you. And I know someone out there is like, well, you could meditate after that. You can, but usually when you are working that much, you can't focus the same in your time off that you would if you had like a more reasonable schedule. And I think, I'm not really in support of hustle culture. I am in support of working hard for your goals, but there might be something that is missing here, or there might be a way that you can see if you have been pulled in more than one direction with how you're spending your time. Capricorns, this might be a time where you realize there needs to be a big shift in how you spend your time doing work for other people versus doing things that are meaningful. And I'm guessing for most Capricorns, it's going to be you're working too much and not enough meaningful stuff. Most people are not like, unless, you know what? No, it could be that you've been in a phase where you're like, I'm just gonna listen to YouTube videos on spirituality all day. And now you're like, okay, we can't keep doing that every day. We gotta do something productive. So it can go either way, but there's probably going to be question marks here around your productivity, around what you need to learn or invest in at this time in order to feel like you're on mission. Maybe getting some clarity around your current mission, especially with that ninth house ruler in the first. It's like, am I on the path? Am I on the path? And if I'm not on the right path, what is the right path? And how do I pivot from here to get on the right path so that I don't, it's like you see the future a little bit. You see 20 years from now, and these aren't always bad moments. They don't usually feel good, but do you want to be that person in 30 years who says, I wish I made that change 30 years ago? Because sometimes it takes connecting with who you would be when you're old, if you stay on the path you're on, before you realize how badly you need to change. So I feel like Capricorns might be having a moment here, a moment where it's like, just what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we sacrificing for? And is it worth it? And if it's not, why don't we change something? And keep in mind that this will become more clear. The problem or the thing that needs to change, or the heart of the matter, may become more clear around the 22nd when the sun hits that Cazimi point with Mercury. Okay. Next is Aquarius. Aquariuses have Mercury retrograde in that 12th house of isolation, the meaning of life and spirituality. And then Mercury rules your 5th house of pleasure and your 8th house of, psychology. Okay, so this is a very psychological transit for you, because not only does it Mercury rule your 8th house of psychology, it's in your 12th house, which is also, it's like our self-sabotage, our things we don't see. So the kind of typical definition for like a natal chart of Mercury in the 12th is like, you have to have some time to contemplate before you know what you think about something. You can't just, someone's like, what are your thoughts? You're like, it's like you have to kind of figure it out. You have to kind of go through a little bit of processing to get deep down to what you think, because it's not clear, it's not obvious to you. It's harder for you to see what you think. So it's harder for you to see what you think right now. And because it's ruling your 8th house, it's like your psychology is hidden from you. Your own deep feelings about something are not easy to see, but it feels like there might be a peering back of the layers here because we've got that trine to Jupiter activated. So it's like the desire to feel good in your own skin is strong enough at this time for you to go, okay, what is it about these relationship dynamics that are making me feel insane right now? Or, what is it about this situation that's bringing up a lot of fear? Or what is it about this that scares me, right? Because the 8th house, I also think of like getting out of your comfort zone. And so the 8th house, the 8th ruler being the 12th, could be something like doing shamanic journeying, doing Akashic records readings, or doing some other altered states of consciousness work to figure out how you feel about a thing or figure out what you need to feel okay. That's kind of what I feel for Aquarius is. Just because all of these things happening here with Mercury are so related to your subconscious mind or how you feel in your own skin. Jupiter in the fourth is kind of bringing more of a need or a desire to kind of feel good. Feel good about how you feel. Feel good in your own body. Feel good in your own emotions. So that means there might be something you become aware of that's like stopping you from feeling good, and you realizing like, let's look at this. Even though it's hard, even though it might have some pain involved, it's kind of like Jupiter can help. Jupiter can help you be willing to see it. Jupiter can help you, in this case, maybe by being like a mentor or a teacher or a therapist or someone like that, who brings this loving present to something that is loving presence to something that is naturally more psychologically painful, but feels worth it to look at right now. So that's kind of what I feel. Be on the lookout, Aquarius, is for like someone who's like a gift in your life, or someone who kind of helps you see hard truths without being a jerk, and just like makes it a little bit easier to go into that space for yourself. So that is what I have for that. Let me know, Aquarius, if that resonated. And moving on now to Pisces. For Pisces, we have Mercury retrograde in your 11th house of your hopes and dreams. So this will be a time where you are very clear, probably around the 13th. If you're not able to be like working toward your hopes and dreams in a way that you would like, you'll probably be more aware of this. You'll probably be more aware of obstacles to your long-term goals. And ways that if you have stopped doing something you love, or ways that if you have not put your true goals on the front burner, if they've been on the back burner and your stuff you got to do is on the front burner. With Saturn in the first, you sometimes have to do more stuff you got to do. And, that's been since March. So since March, taking on more kind of difficulty, taking on more sacrifice. But Mercury is asking, what are we sacrificing for? And are the things we're sacrificing the things that are going to actually get us to our long-term goals? It might not be the case. So if you have been like let's say you got another job to make more money, but you just aren't making more money because it's not paying you as much as you thought or something, maybe this would be a time to go, what can I do differently here? Now, Mercury also rules for you the 4th house of your emotional foundation, your home. And it also rules for you the 7th house of relationships. So this also brings in questions of like, is this relationship going to help me reach my long-term goals? So now this could be, if you're in a relationship, this can be something with your relationship dynamics that's connected to your hopes and dreams, or groups of friends as well. And it could be, worst case scenario, this could be like, oh, you break up with someone and now their friends aren't your friends anymore, and it's awkward and you have to figure out who are your real friends. But it could be something way less dramatic here, like you and your partner having a baby and now you can't hang out with the same people anymore. It can be anything like that. Now, if you are a single Pisces, then this can be something about the groups that you belong to. So this could be a new potential partner taking you into new spaces with new people. It could be realizing that you are not going to meet the right person where you've been hanging out and you need to start hanging out somewhere else. Like your hopes and dreams of what kind of relationship you want to have can somehow be in the spotlight, especially the parts of it that aren't quite working. So like the things you're doing right now, whether you're single or coupled, that are going to lead to the relationship being what you want it to be. If you're single, it's like, are you talking to the right kind of people? Do you have your sights set on the right kind of person to begin with? That kind of thing. If you're coupled, it's like, are we together creating our long-term goals, or am I just sacrificing to give you what you want and not really getting anything I need out of the situation? Especially with the Saturn and Pisces, this can be a time where you find yourself just kind of giving things up for people and not always having the best boundaries, especially Saturn in your sign, where it's like you can feel limited and like you have to be all responsible and stuff. The 4th house ruler being in the 11th house means you can be reassessing something related to your home. Like, is your home life aligned for your hopes and dreams? Is it the kind of place that by living here, it's going to support what you want to accomplish? Now, that can be a million different things, right? It could be if you want to be a high achiever and you're living with a bunch of people who are trying to get you to party all the time. It could be you really need your own space to work from home, but you have roommates and they're loud, right? It could be a bunch of other stuff, but it's like, is where you're living supporting your highest good? So around the 13th, be mindful of ways this shows up. Does where you're living, and it might be like, yes, right? It might be like, yes, I love this. I want more of it. I want to create my hopes and dreams, my long-term goals so that I get more of this. It could also be like, no, it's awkward. It's uncomfortable. I'm not, I'm getting distracted at home, whatever the case may be. Or like if you're living with your parents and it's like, you have to kind of tone yourself down a little bit or be a certain version of yourself. And you're like, I gotta, move, or who knows? I don't know what kind of drama you guys have. But I do know that with Mercury in the 11th, it's going to bring attention to, does my home life and my emotional foundation support my goals, and do my relationships support my goals? And that doesn't mean that you don't support their goals, but just that this is a time where if there are challenges with this, there will probably be an effort to go back and redo something so that the long-term dream gets the attention it deserves. Now, this could also apply to friendships as well. And because because Jupiter is in your third house, making that trine up to Mercury, it's like there might be like a focus on, okay, is this helping me reach my long-term goals in terms of my ability to learn and communicate what I know? Am I in a house, or am I in connections with people or in connections with community where I can talk about myself without feeling like a total weirdo, right? Like, I'm just thinking about myself right now. Can I tell everyone I work with that I'm an astrologer? Can I just be myself? Can I connect with people and network with people who are like, oh yeah, we're trying to do this too, right? So replace that with whatever fits for you in your life right now. And it might not be professional. It could be like you are having a baby and you want to, there's a need to kind of reassess and reevaluate the relationships or the friendships or the way that you show up in group settings because, well, now we don't drink right now because we're pregnant, or now we want friends who are going to also have kids, or we want, people who will just come over to the house and chill instead of having to go party or whatever, right? So replace this with whatever thing in your life, whatever hope and dream in your life you're sacrificing for, especially since March, that you've had to take on more to accomplish. And this is a time to see what's not working, to like address it. And keep in mind that by the 22nd of December, that's when you may really get to the heart of the matter and see what really, really needs to change. So that is what I have for Pisces, and I'm going to check on the comments here. Okay, so Weird Wolf says, I'm a Cap rising with Saturn in the third natally, trying to work out what to do with my life now. Tried so many paths and don't want to do any of them again. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then we have, Jeannie's saying, resonates, my Pisces rising man wants to work from home, but our roommates are just so loud. 2-year-old Gemini twin troublemakers. Oh my gosh, I bet they are just a handful. I can just imagine that. Okay, so other announcements. If you are just jumping on, feel free to go back and watch your sun, moon, and rising. And then make sure you tell me. Tell me what resonates. Tell me what doesn't. Tell me everything. Tell me what I said too, because what happens is people will just say like, Oh yeah, I'm doing that. And I don't remember what I said. So I love it when you guys say what sign you are, what I said, and how it resonates. I love it when you guys do that. And I read them all. Okay, so last minute announcements, not really last minute, but announcements. There's two things. One is this video that you can see on the bottom of the screen that I'm promoting the hell out of. It's Blocks to Blessings. This is a 10-minute pre-recorded video. It's $37. It's how to work with your greatest challenge. So basically, I look at your chart, I identify what I think is the greatest challenge, and then I tell you what it is. I tell you as much as I can about the problem, and then I tell you as much as I can about either how to work with it, how to solve it, what's good about it, what you can do with it. So this is my newest offering because I know a lot of you guys, you don't just want to tune in and see what the energy is and tune out. You want to actually use astrology to help you be your highest self. And I know a lot of you, you'll get all this information about a placement and all they do is tell you the bad stuff, but they don't tell you what to do with it. And I remember those days when I was like learning astrology and I would watch a video on like Sun Moon Square, which I have, and then it would be like, tell me I was volatile, and it just drug me through the mud. And the thing is, squares are so energizing and there's so much potential to use them in a positive way. But these videos, they don't say that. They don't tell you kind of what to do about it. So I think this is something that I know is kind of missing. And so that's part of why I have this video. Now, the other thing that I want you to know about is that I have created this little form. This little form to help you, to help me help you. So basically, right now I'm doing more market research, which means talking to you guys and figuring out what makes you tick, what makes you, what makes you like my channel, what makes you like astrology, what you don't like about it, what you've tried to buy before that didn't solve your problem and why. So I'm doing all this market research to really understand not just what you like and don't like, but how I can make better content for you that actually solves those problems. So I have this feedback form I created, and it's about turning your blocks to blessings, this idea of taking the challenges in your chart and using them for good, because I know so many of you, that's what you want to do. And there's just not enough information out there on what to do with these problems. So there is a link in the description where you can go to my market research form, and it asks you a few questions. And then at the end, the last question is put your email. Give me your email if you want to be the first to get the free guide. So by participating in the market research, you are helping me make the best free stuff possible. Because when I can understand what you struggle with, then I can make stuff that helps you overcome it. So be sure to check that out. It'll only take a few minutes and I appreciate it greatly. And that is what I have for you guys today. And I hope you have a wonderful